Hello, y'all, and welcome back. So, in what follows, I will, in the spirit of one of my heroes, the Roman historian Suetonius, be taking a little bit of creative license with history. I won't be changing anything, but I will be perhaps adding a few things for dramatic effect, so viewer discretion advised. So, Plato's a member of the aristocracy, and at about 30, he inherits a large piece of property just outside of Athens. We're told it's 6 stadia outside of Athens. And the property has a grove of olive trees on it, and either the property or the grove is named after this possibly mythical, possibly historical figure named Academos. So Plato, being Plato, decides to set up a school on this property, and he names the school after the property, which is named after the guy, and so he calls his school the Academy, which is, of course, where we get our English word academy and its cognates academics and academic. Now, this is not a school in the sense that you and I would think of as school. They don't take students, they don't accept tuition, they don't have grades or accreditation, they don't even teach classes. It's more of what we might think of as a think tank, or if you're familiar with All Souls College, Oxford, which is just fellows and doesn't have any students enrolled. So what Plato's doing is he's recruiting all the top minds of the day to come together on this property at this school, and they live there and they work there, and they just, give talks, symposia, colloquia, and put their heads together to try to solve, the big philosophical questions, which Plato at this point in his life and subsequently through the rest of his life is convinced that these questions are going to be solved primarily through mathematics. So really what he's doing is recruiting top mathematicians to this place, and not just men, but women as well, top women thinkers, so quite progressive, obviously, by the standards of the 4th century. When Plato is in his late 50s or early 60s, something truly remarkable happens. A 17-year-old kid shows up at the door of the academy. The 17-year-old kid is from the far north of Greece, a small town called Stagira. And he comes from some money. His father is the personal physician to the king of Macedon, King Amyntas of Macedon. So this kid grows up in and around the court of Macedon. Macedon, or Macedonia, I never could figure out, the proper usage of those two words, is not Greek. I would say it's a separate country, but they speak Greek, they practice Greek religion, Greek culture, so they're similar, but, a little bit different. And this kid shows up at the door of the academy, and Plato says, hello, can I help you? Kid says, yes, I'd like to be a part of the academy. Plato says, I'm so sorry, we actually are not accepting students, we don't take students. I'd like to apologize for any confusion there. Kid says, I didn't say I wanted to be a student. Plato says, I guess I'm confused then. What do you want? Kid says, I want what I said I wanted. I want to be a part of the academy. I want to be a fellow at the academy. I want to share ideas, give talks, work with the other fellows of the academy. Plato says, okay, look, if your dad is willing to pay for you to be here, you can hang out, don't get in anyone's way, don't say anything, that's fine, I don't have time for this, that's fine, come on in. Kid says, okay, thanks. Later that afternoon, the great mathematician Theaetetus gives a talk to the assembled fellows of the Academy on cosmic integrals. And it's over the head of most of the fellows, and the kid sits way in the back. And at the end of the talk, he raises his hand and asks a question so complex and so difficult that Theaetetus himself is unable to answer it. And the same thing happens the next day with a separate topic, and the next day, and the next day, and it very quickly becomes evident that the intellect of this kid exceeds that of everyone at the academy, including possibly Plato himself. And the kid's name is Aristotle. Aristotle is a genius the likes of which the human race has never seen. And there are many ways to kind of characterize or frame his genius, but perhaps the best is to just sort of sketch his project in contradistinction to that of the other philosophers we've been looking at. So Socrates, again, his project is very simple. He wants to figure out what a good person is and how to become one. He's not optimistic, I think, that anyone knows, but he wants to seek this out. Plato's project is to resolve this puzzle sort of left open by Socrates about how it is that we have these deep-seated moral convictions despite the fact that we can't explain where they come from. And then that leads him to, greater and greater vistas of philosophy. Aristotle's project is no less than the complete systematization of all human knowledge. So he wants to get anything that anyone has ever said or written about any subject at all and write it down and get it just totally systematized. But that's just a start, because of course once you have it all written down, Aristotle says you read it and you realize A lot of it's just wrong. People just weren't smart enough to get it right. So we got to go through and we got to write the truth about all these things that they got wrong. But even that is not enough, because a lot of these disciplines are going to be shaky or full of holes, because they need to rest on other foundational disciplines which don't exist. So Aristotle says where those disciplines don't exist, those foundational disciplines, we will invent them. And he does. He single-handedly invents disciplines. So no doubt you've heard of logic, the science of deductive reasoning, on which, for instance, computer science rests. Aristotle invents that. He's not like an important early contributor. He straight up just invents logic. And as if that's not enough, he also invents modal logic, the logic of contingency, necessity, and possibility. This is in the prior and posterior analytics, respectively. So his project is vast. We have a work called The Problems, Problemata, where Aristotle just lists his current research agenda. And it's all the questions he's interested in. And it's 225 pages of like tiny print, tiny margins, Bible papers. So to illustrate how broad Aristotle's research agenda is, I actually have my copy of the complete works of Aristotle, which I carry with me wherever I go. Not always, but I have. And I want to just at random select 3 questions from the topics that Aristotle says he's interested in. So if you see these 2 sticky notes, I don't know if you can see that. In between the 2 sticky notes, that's the work, the problems, where he's listing what he's interested in. So we're going to open this up, read 3 at random. Here we go. Let's do it. Why does horse take pleasure in and desire horse, and man take pleasure in man? And generally, why do animals delight in animals which are akin to and like them? That's the first one. Random. Second question. Why is it that flowers and burnt perfumes smell sweeter at a distance, whereas close at hand they have rather the smell either of vegetation or of smoke? And our third one, we open it up. Okay. Why does a large chorus keep the rhythm better than a small one? So, super random, right? But just everything you could possibly imagine. There's a quick note on Aristotle's writings, because I'll be reading a little bit. Aristotle writes apparently dialogues like Plato does. He writes prose. He's apparently an excellent prose stylist. All of that is lost. And it was lost in the burning of the Library of Alexandria, an event so tragic and so famous that it's now part of popular culture. You may have seen the meme where the dad says, "Son, why are your eyes red?" Kid says, "I've been smoking weed." The dad says, "Don't lie to me. You've been crying thinking about the burning of the Library of Alexandria again, haven't you?" And the kid says, "Yeah, I've been crying." Which is relatable, because I cry every night thinking about the loss of all this ancient philosophy, history, poetry, literature, etc. But despite the fact that we've lost most of what Aristotle wrote, we still have an enormous amount. So this is my complete works of Aristotle, volume 2. So we got 2 of these. And what they are is lecture notes. So notes most likely that he writes for himself to refer to while he delivers lectures at his school, which we'll talk about his school in just a bit. So in the next video, we're going to get into the Nicomachean Ethics, the content of it. I'll see you.